G'day guys, CW here once again. Welcome to another weekly developer update. And here we are. Joining me once again is Joe Armenio. How are you, mate?
I'm doing pretty well. Crazy week though.
Another week, another couple of hacks. Pretty crazy.
You know, they say the crypto space, like, time moves faster and people age faster. And this is one of those weeks where, I don't know, just not a good week for our industry.
Yeah, we discussed at length about the Nomad Bridge hack and then posted the video. And a couple of hours later, the Solana sort of wallet draining exploit was going on. It's crazy time.
You know, the worst thing about that is it burns the very people that we're trying to attract, right? And
yeah.
Retail out. Curious, wants to learn more about, you know, what is cryptocurrency? What is this all about? How does it work? And then, you know, it just gets dominated by headlines of things that were either built improperly or tested improperly or had a bug or, you know, just weren't ready to be live, and we're live.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing, like you just mentioned, is you attract retail in, they're all excited, they get sort of into these ecosystems, and then even just using a wallet, branching out and being a little bit more adventurous and jumping onto, say, a bridge, and unfortunately, they're burned, and often you see that people sort of step away from the space indefinitely.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's just a consequence of rushing things to market, having them closed source. You know, even open source things can have issues, right? There's even potential, you know, 0-day bugs out there in traditional software that nobody knows about yet, right? That is one downside to the software industry as a whole, is sometimes that is how you find out that something, you know, isn't working properly if someone exploits it.
Yeah, and often sort of O-day or 0-day exploits, people sort of keep them in their back pocket until it does become in their incentive to sort of exploit. So they could go unfounded for years or months, but then also having that sort of open source framework as well allows people to jump in and just run their eyes over, and then they might find it themselves.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the industry that, you know, it certainly makes them ask questions, which can be good, right? You got to take evasive action and protect yourself as you can in this space. But then you also have people that are on the sidelines and they're reading, learning, thinking about, you know, does this blockchain stuff make sense? Does it make sense for my business? Does it make sense for me to take an allocation of my savings and potentially move it outside of, you know, my currency system? And, you know, the exploits like that, headlines, they create huge damage, you know, to where it's easy to say, like, haha, sucks to be Solana, they shut down again and then turned on and we're still getting hacked, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that affects everybody in the industry.
Exactly.
You know, in that way, you know, it's good to have just proper design standards, push for principled development. You know, one thing about open source that I know it's a horse that we beat on all the time, but, you know, you do get additional eyes, and over time, open source frameworks can become very robust in terms of, like, their security assumptions, just because of the amount of reuse and review and understanding that develops over time.
Yeah, most definitely, especially on the reputation side. I actually had a couple of friends text me in regards to, say, the bridge hack that went on a couple of days ago, and basically asking the same questions, like, is it safe to actually get into crypto? Like, no names were sort of mentioned around sort of what they were investing or looking at or anything like that, but just the headlines themselves, it just had them second guessing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not isolated to, you know, particular incidents. I think that if you were on the sideline, you would ask that question. I would hope. I would.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, $200 million evaporating like that. And then the next day there's another event, that certainly would give me pause.
Yeah, and I think with the large sums that are sort of getting thrown around as well, like with the exploits and the hacks and bits and pieces, it somewhat kind of desensitizes you in a sense. But ultimately, it's real people's money that's just sort of getting vaporized.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, $200 million robbery, that's something you'd make a movie about, right?
Exactly. Exactly,
I
mate.
guess in the crypto space, that's like, I don't know, it's just another
Monday.
Another day. Yeah. Terrible.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's jump into this developer update then. Sort of brighten ourselves up.
Yeah, really. Get a little gloomy in here.
So kicking things off, we actually had a couple of updates that jumped the gun. So Kushti announced the developer update would be taking place in sort of 24 hours, and we had a couple of updates. Do you want to kick things off?
Sure. So Aggergakker from Guapswap. Looks like in preparation for the token launch, they're working on their white paper and their website design. The specifics that they're currently working through, the airdrop token delegation, their liquidity goals, modeling use scenarios for fee generation. They're looking at miner incentives, NFT sales logistics. Looks like they're thinking about putting together the Guapswap Foundation and understanding the use case for that. And Guap depreciation versus appreciation. So obviously looking at tokenomics and what the impacts of that are. And it looks like the first draft of their website design is out. So I'm pretty excited to see what they're doing. That's a neat project.
Yeah, good to see that they're sort of helping out the realm of the proof of work and miner space as well. So providing utility and use for those guys. All right, so scrolling down, we have Louis Varcher with just a comment from in regards to Guapswap. So true devs have no clue what time of day it is. So obviously posting their update a little bit early. And also we have ErgoDEX here posted one a little bit early. So on the Spectrum.Network team, that's got a work in progress. So developing the network layer. The backend team, once again, another work in progress, reworking Open API for the protocol analytics on the Ergo side. So they have some docs there if you want to jump in. And then on the front end side, they have a work in progress for a new brand landing page, which is about 90% complete. Has the updated transaction history with the pending and queuing operation statuses that is complete and released in the next release. So responsive UI for lock page, responsive UI for pool overview page, responsive UI for remove liquidity page, and responsive UI for the add liquidity page. Another big update from those guys. This is a funny video from Louis Varcher. So just a quick update. He's been on holidays, so hasn't been doing much. But you want to see a token being minted by a donkey, then check out that video. It's pretty funny. Had me in stitches earlier. And moving on, we have Pragmaxim.
All right, so Pragmaxim is actually doing something that's really valuable for our ecosystem right now in the background. What he's doing is he's working on a lightweight version of the Explorer that would serve at first to spend outputs and later, add more features. This is actually something that we are building as an exchange integration tool. That way it will be reusable across exchanges. It'll kind of give them a lightweight version of the Explorer to basically fetch and interact with transactions that relate to their wallets, their infrastructure. So he's added fetching blocks from all available peers, persistence to the database, REST API is going to be on Thursday, testing and deployment on Friday, And then the weekend is reserved for making it resilient, so it's not useless. But that's actually going to be a really nice tool for us to have and use. And I do think that that lightweight version, can be repurposed to assist dApp developers as well.
So that makes it easier for them to run their server own instance. Is that right?
Yep.
Awesome. So moving on to greenhat and an update from Soysa. So they've merged approved to verify test for at least. They have the PR there. Tim L finished a CL job to build and publish the Oracle app builds. And Jusek is working on the update pullbox command and has successfully run it on testnet. And greenhat himself has finished and merged the check for input coin preservation in transaction builder and removed the min change value. Also finished and merged the removal of undesired error silencing result to option conversion, and fixed the distributed signing. So spending box depends on another input box with multisig. Just asking for input from Kushti, and then tested the Ergo box max tokens count. So tokens selected, removed limits in WASM and C-Swift APIs. Then also, just in wrapping up, is updating the minor fee API in sigmarust. And after that, just getting back onto the Oracle testing on the testnet. Just has an edit here as well, and new release of ergo-lib will be published in the coming days. Another substantial update from greenhat and his team.
Yep, and they're always plugging away at that sigmarust.
So all the PRs are here, so if you want to jump in. And onto our favorite meme coin, Comet.
Favorite? I don't know if they were in that place in my heart yet, but we'll see. So Comet update, looks like they have added burn page for Comet degens. So you can now burn your Comet tokens in their website. So if you're ashamed to have Comet and you want to get rid of it, instead of sending it somewhere, you can just delete it. Looks like their version of they basically forked a wallet, which they are actually going to support, which is nice to see. Version 0.4.4 is out. Looks like Google is reviewing their newest forked version 0.5. So they've got a link to that. And it looks like they're also working to add a burn tab in their wallet. And the UI is almost ready. So if you are ashamed, you can actually burn it in the wallet or on their website.
A couple of options. Good on them. So moving on, we have MHSM and Rosen Bridge. So the issues with the multi-sig contracts on Ergo have been resolved. It takes a bit of time to and has that sorted, and now working on. They are now working and tested. Made a lot of tests and improvements on the event verification by guards. Developed different protection methods in case of guard failure and DB crashes. So having malicious guards, event or message forgeries or network attacks. The RSN token integration integrated in the contracts in order to be aligned with tokenomics. So RSN, I'm assuming, is the Rosen token. Mm-hmm. And is the main token for the bridge. Yes, definitely, there it is. Used in staking, locking, and reward distribution. So tokenomics is still a work in progress, and more on that later. Also, they might deploy the bridge before finishing the tokenomics in a better version. Later, we'll provide the roadmap, tokenomics, ICO, etc. And full integration and testing is ongoing in the local mainnet and very close to deploying on testnet. Massive update.
That's something that's been being put together in the background for a while. Deploying it and testing it before the token is released is a very Ergo-like thing to do. That happens a lot on our network, and it's really nice to see. Versus having the white paper, the ICO, and then hoping for a product.
Yeah, the
So
speculation side of things. So you get a basic working
I,
program.
I can understand both sides of it. Like, development does cost money. You have to take time and have the investment, and so I can certainly understand like the incentive involved in using fundraising before there's a product, but it gives users just historically massive risk, and so that's something that everybody needs to manage their own risk assumptions with, versus having a beta version that's live. That's a different story, because you can actually read through the code.
And obviously, we've seen what's happened this week with the Nomad Bridge. Hopefully, the testing and everything goes ahead with the Rosen side as well. For those who may not know what the Rosen Bridge is, do you want to just give a quick high-level overview of that sort of framework?
Sure. So when you're building a bridge, one thing that probably has been the dominating intent behind a lot of bridges is speed, right? You want to be able to arbitrage across blockchains and move money kind of through the interchain space between blockchains relatively quickly. The Rosen Bridge is designed with a assumptions-based approach. So the first thing that Rosen kind of thought about in their design is smart contract vulnerabilities. And the ideal goal here is to localize it. So there's a small smart contract footprint that's on the Ergo network. And so when the Rosen Bridge is in beta and in testing, the actual logic for the bridge will only be on Ergo. And that creates kind of a unique assumption to where if I have a bridge that's on multiple blockchains, every time I spin up a new bridge to a new chain, I inherit a new potential attack vector. Let's just call it that.
Yep.
Versus Rosen, the other side of new chains is going to be essentially a threshold-based wallet or a multi-sig wallet. And then you get into the question of distributed assumptions, right? Where you have to have multiple actors approving something in order to essentially approve a transaction or an event. And the goal there is to try to build out that set and make sure that it's transparent so people understand the assumptions of what they're getting into. And hopefully over time, there's quite a big guard set to where, let's say an exploit becomes more difficult. Now, I know that MHS is also going to try to run a lot of the infrastructure, off of nodes and explorers, and try to avoid, typical internet-based exploits. So there's a lot of security assumptions that have been thought out. I'm excited to see it in action. I think it's going to be a pretty solid design.
Yeah, most definitely. I love the thought processes, the conversations that go on behind the scenes, and try and think of the best way to sort of go about all this sort of stuff. It's huge. So moving on, we have Apextheory.
So Apextheory, it looks like he's been continuing to work on the unconfirmed transactions class to the node. He updated a branch to 4.0.37, resolving some conflicts. Kushti did the first review of the draft PR. Compilation is now successful, and it looks like he's about halfway through updating test cases, and then we'll push the final PR.
And another comment here from MHS, just with regards to the Solana hack or the exploit. So it's still not clear. There's some rumors running around, obviously improper implementation of used ED25519 library. So they're using that on the Garter set, I think, on the Rosen side, or the watches.
No, No, Ergo is SECPK 256.
Yep.
I think he's looking at potential bridge partners to see if there is a potential exploit. You definitely don't want to spin up a multi-sig wallet on another, because they could potentially, be using that curve like on the other side of the bridge. And so if there was an improper implementation, that's something to figure out before you inherit that as a partner. But if that's not Ergo directly.
Yeah. So moving on, we have Sepehr and the ergo-Graphql. So it has, go ahead.
The ergo-Graphql looks like they've added mempool inputs resolver, and they've add being spent field to the box, adding a way to know if a box is being used as an input in the mempool. So it looks like they're doing some mempool work.
Yep. Moving on, we have Alex. So he has released Node 4.0.36 this week and reviewed the PRs for 0.37. So also thinks to add voting for 5.0 rules there and release along with another 5.0 release reference client, which will support the mainnet as well, and then merged the last changes into PRs for bootstrapping with UTXO set support. Then going to finish them, and then we'll invite other devs to review. Then on other matters, he's reviewed the NFT sales contract by Crass, and is continuing to consider L2 solutions for Let's and a few other solutions for the new mixing scheme. So once again, a lot on his plate.
Always.
Next up, MrStahlfelge.
So MrStahlfelge is working on the wallet side. Looks like he's prepared release 2.0.2214 with Mosaik support for Android, and moved to review that by Morphic. Looks like he's tested to use the GraphQL API to retrieve data. It worked well, but needs to wait for the API to become stable and to support testnet before it's adopted. Looks like he's prepared to use the new REST API URL parameters. The nodes are now reporting. Looks like we already have 8 nodes reporting a HTTPS URL, which is really nice to see.
Yep.
Proceeded with some platform specifics for the desktop version, intercepting ErgoPay URLs from browsers on Windows with some success, and trying to get webcam to work on Mac OS, which I guess is currently a struggle. But it's nice to see you playing with that.
Yeah, he's got his thoughts on the Mac side of things.
Yeah.
Just another comment here from MHS as well, just on the raffle. So not sure if he reported it last week or not, but they actually have a Kaching bot running for the raffle, thanks to Ilya and Mark. So the Kaching looks very promising, and he hopes see some more developments based on that. So I think that's actually running in the main Telegram group. And on to SpookyErgo.
So SpookyErgo has a pretty huge update that they're going to push this week, fixing most of the bugs and changing the monster position for a more enjoyable experience in what they've built. Looks like they're also talking to NightOwl about fees and how they can implement the game on NightOwl platform. Looks like they're going to post an article about how that game will work, the fees and bet prices, and it looks like Spooky NFT holders will pay a reduced ticket price, I guess potentially in the casino game, which is kind of an interesting use case for what they put together.
Yeah, one of the first third-party games that's going to be integrated into the NightOwl casino. And moving on, we have Captain Nemo with Nautilus. So on the Babel fee sides, the beta testing is on testnet. Low adhesion for now, but we'll maybe take a little bit more than expected and be ready for production. So if someone's willing to test, shoot them a DM and they'll share the instructions. Also added a developer mode, which will make possible to have handy tools for devs and advanced users without polluting regular users' experience. So if you'd like to see the raw transaction JSON on the review window, token IDs, etc., on the send tab and so on. Added various improvements on testnet version and added UI fixes for the Babel fees branch. And then also with the ergo-Graphql, so version 0.3.0 has been released with lots of stability and performance improvements. So just tagging a couple of people there, and others you may want to update your instances. Babel
Nice to see.
Yeah, coming out soon on testnet. So moving on, we have a new developer, ErgoPort.
Oh, nice to see. Looks like they've dropped their GitHub, and they've created a portfolio tracker where they have 25 Ergo and Cardano coins that are currently being tracked in MinSwap and ErgoDEX, shareable link, and also hosted scripts with clean out text output for anyone to use. That's awesome. Love to see open source tools like that. Looks like on the bot side, ErgoPort Discord bot and ErgoPort Telegram bot I've come out. Looks like a dedicated price check channel in Telegram. Anyone can invite the bot into their channel. The bots will show a custom count and currency as well. Looks like it tells what your Cardano swap is in Erg and what your Ergo swap is in ADA. And so feel free to reach out for bot invites. Bot code is still a template, but that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what they can do with that.
Yeah, most definitely. Once again, more developer tooling, and if you want to check that out, there's the my.ergoport.dev website. Moving on, another one from MHSCM. So this time on the Minotaur wallet. The development has been slowed down due to Rosen's priority, but a new version will be released soon with some improvements. UI design is outsourced to an external dev, and a customized stablecoin only wallet is planned, which uses the Babel fees.
Nice.
And moving on, we have Scala Hub.
All right, so Scala Hub dropped 3 pretty big updates today. The first is a small change to the Oracle Pool 2.0 framework that was suggested by Greenhat that allows for preserving script during update. The second has to do with Dexy, basically splitting the liquidity pool logic from tracking logic by moving the tracking code into a separate contract. The tracking contract is still a work in progress. And it looks like the third update has to do with Sigmajoin mixing. Looks like there's an EIP coming out with outsourced fee for a decentralized market, somewhat like join market that exists, where you can outsource mixing, which will be very nice. I think that'll be big for the user experience in mixing.
3 pretty significant ones are oracles, and then you have the Babel fee side, and then the mixing. Dexy side. So just moving on, we have another update from the Comet team. Actually looking for a developer to make their lottery smart contract, and then they'll add it to their front end. They can do that. So there's a bounty of 500 SIG USD. Nice to see them guys getting involved and building out things.
Yep.
As the next one, we have LowKeyNerd. So he's provided a bit of a video developer update. If you want to jump onto there and check that one out, by all means do so. And scrolling down, we have Jay the Ergod with the NightOwl weekly dev update.
Sure. So the front end looks like they are putting the final touches on the game directory page. The swap design has been updated. The coin flip order flow design updated. Final touches on the lottery page. Looks like they're adding music in the background so you can listen as you gamble. Finishing and about pages, updating the LP page design, and improving notifications. Looks like on the back end, they're still working through some final adjustments with the front end and back end roulette workflow to have a more stable environment for end-to-end testing. They're improving the no Oracle scanner code, so it's more production ready. Looks like then they're going to tag a 0.0.1 release. They're looking into integrating open source the open source analytics tool, Matomo. And it looks like in other news, they're talking with another team to potentially integrate Baccarat game, and they're continuing to work on documentation.
Yeah, these guys are such a big team as well, and doing many things at once. So it's pretty cool to see them sort of chuck out these updates. They're pretty significant week to week. Moving on, we have Ilya from Dapstep with a Kaching update. So he has released self-service UI for Kaching, and now you can set up your own webhooks to any address transaction and build your applications on top of that. It removes the complexity of hosting a node and scanning the blockchain, and reduces your app stack to a simple one root web service. So there's another Twitter link there. And Mark will probably update his progress for the ErgoDEX swaps live view based on Kaching webhooks. And then just has a couple of screenshots here. Nice comment here from Noah as well. So not much of an update, but he talked to the Gemlink wallet devs just in regards to making sure that the token burn doesn't happen, that they actually implement the wallet side of things. I know that's sort of near and dear to his heart, so it's great for him to reach out and provide that update. Scrolling down, we have update from Chris Ray on the Exle side.
Sure. So it looks like Exle has fixed the repayment deadline height to start from funding deadline height. They've started writing various tests for all their current contracts and are mostly finished up with the proxy contracts that they've been working on. They finished the SLT Explorer. They've worked on the Excel bot. They worked on the Excel API and the requests and responses for all their API routes. Looks like they've also started testing on mainnet, which is pretty exciting to see. The first Lenbox created on mainnet without the use of the Excel database, and then he posted the transaction. So amazing.
Yeah, nice to see that sort of chug along. A comment here from Pragmaxim, just reaching out to Captain Nemo in regards to databases. Cheese enthusiast from the GetBlock update. So with subpooling, they're working on the Neta Plasma pool contracts, and on Plasma itself, they haven't run into any issues on the library. Mostly adding more documentation and testing, and then we'll do an official 1.0 release. And then miscellaneous, it's working on some upcoming articles and writings. Next up, we have Haley PDLL.
So Haley PDLL is the developer behind Safe Wallet. For those of you that don't know, pretty solid wallet build in our ecosystem. And it looks like he's working on a small game in which you could own some characters that are smart contract based and make them fight. And now what that fighting is going to look like, I'm certainly curious.
Yeah.
But it does look like it has a first proof of concept for the smart contracts that he's slightly reviewed the design, and he's currently debugging the new version of it. It looks like the UI is partially implemented, but in developer mode. So there's some work to do there. The UI is done with React. Backend bot is running with Node.js. The code is not published yet. At some point, you may see a post searching for beta fighters. So those of you out there that are ready to rumble when Haley is ready for some beta testing in the game, please hop in and help him out.
That's it. Get the gloves off. Moving on, we have LGD. So update on the ErgoPad random NFT sale generator. So they finished the architecture of the protocol, updating contracts to include modification to the protocol, and just working on setting up an ErgoPad random number generator oracle. So they'll start off with a V1 and then switch to V2 once available. And we have an update from Sky Harbor, their first one. In the
nice.
developer updates.
Yeah, it's nice to see him here. The smart contracts that they are running have been audited. There's progress on the decentralized mass minting printer that they've been working on in the back end. They're in talks with plenty of NFT artists that are interested in moving over into the Ergo space, and they are officially leaving beta, which they dropped an article in terms of what that's going to mean for them. Pretty exciting stuff to see.
Yeah, it's great to have them in here. And if you wanted to learn a little bit more about that, they do have that Medium article there. So I encourage you all to jump into that. And so moving on, we have MG with the Ergo Sapiens update. So the backend is finished for Ergo Sapiens, and they're running on testnet. So they can install the Nautilus testnet for the wallet there. You can get erg and then mint. So more detailed instructions on the paste bin there. And so the bot kept timing me out, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a nice update from those guys. So we have Leaf here just reaching out just in regards to Pragmaxim and the project they got working on. Is it Denades? I'm not too sure what that is, so I'll have to jump into that.
No, I think it's a toolkit.
Yeah, Performant Ergo blockchain toolset.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that type of SDK coming together. That's something that having open source SDKs, open source contracts is really the driver for developer adoption. And so seeing crossover development and in terms of building tool sets, software development kits, having open source frameworks, and then kind of these lightweight off-chain tools that are super flexible and open source are all huge. Really exciting.
Yeah, something we always sort of elaborate on there is the open source tool sets and bits and pieces in the ecosystem. Awesome. Reply for Nemo just in regard to the database side to Pragmaxim. And then we have a update from Liquid Phase and Swamp Audio. You'll take that one?
Sure. Swamp Audio has created flowcharts for developer onboard education about extended UTXO, smart contracts, Web3 infrastructure, etc. For their own dev team, but they're going to be sharing it with the community because, when you have incoming developers that are moving into the Ergo ecosystem, a lot of the times their experience and kind of wisdom they develop in terms of how to work with the Ergo blockchain is really invaluable, because any new developer moving into this space is going to walk that same path, so to speak. And so having, documentation and tools there to make that process easier. It benefits everybody. Looks like the dev team has given progress that they've broken through the learning curve with Ergo. Consequently, their dApp connector package has been started and will most likely be ready sometime next week. The skeleton for the package is made, and they are working to tie it to Laravel's authorization system. This will be made publicly available for all Laravel sites after the testing is successful.
Bit of a tongue twister to end there, mate.
Oh.
So that sums up this dev update. Another substantial one once again, and it's cool to see that a couple of projects there were a bit itchy to get off the ground and provide their update a little bit early.
Yeah, and we definitely need to thank the new developer. What was the name? Got to find it. It was QX that came in and dropped new open source tools. Awesome to have you. Thanks for joining the weekly update.
Yeah, it's been pretty active in Telegram as well, I believe. I think the username there is Drehef, DREHEF, something along those lines anyway. So welcome to the community.
Yeah, always nice to see new developers on board.
Yeah, most definitely. And then also offering more open source toolkits. So more depth, more dApp sort of price tooling in regards to the bots monitoring dexes and all kinds of things. So I think that's more along the lines of sort of the ka-ching side. But yeah, heaps of use cases there.
Yeah, and the community wins. Everybody benefits.
Exactly.
So thanks for doing that.
All right, guys, cheers. Thanks for tuning in once again for another weekly developer update. And Joe, been a pleasure once again. Thanks.
Yep. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.